My name is Stacy Nordmeyer. I'm the General Manager of Choral Publications here at Hal Leonard. With me is our Creative Director, Luke Talon.
Hello,
And
everyone.
behind the scenes, we have Brittany and Melissa who are making everything work seamlessly for us. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring aboard our first presenter for today. This is our Rollo Dilworth. He is the Vice Dean and Professor of Choral Music Education at Temple University, widely published by Hal Leonard, and he is a famous conductor who has done numerous state and festival choirs across the whole world and locally as well. And I know you'll really enjoy hearing what he has to share with us today. So, welcome to Rollo.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Hello, everyone. It's really a wonderful opportunity to have this chance to share some ideas with you in terms of pedagogy, in terms of repertoire. I'm very much looking forward to it, and feel free to pop those questions in chat if you have any. I'm more than happy either during our webinar or after to answer any questions that you might have. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with the PowerPoint that I have prepared for you. And it's entitled Teaching Choral Music, Identifying the Essential Elements. It's really important, I think, for all of us as choral teachers, as choral educators, to think about how we approach the scores that we're going to be teaching. And as the more we know about those scores and the better connected we are to those scores, as well as the better connected we are to our students, I think that it makes for a much easier path in terms of looking at the needs of the score and at the same time the needs of our students in order to come up with strategies that we hope will help them to be successful. So we'll jump to the next slide and we'll start to talk about what I call a responsive approach. A responsive approach is really one in which the teacher really pays close attention to, as I mentioned earlier, the needs of the score as well as the needs of the student. So we're not just sort of making decisions randomly about how we're going to teach our students or even what elements of the score we're going to teach our students, but we're very intentional about those things. So when preparing the score, the first thing that I encourage you to do is to listen to it. It will show you what it needs. In other words, scan the score. Maybe you'll have to play through it. Maybe you want to even listen to a recording of it. And at that point, begin to identify what elements in the score are going to be demanding for you or going to require your attention as a music educator. That could be the actual time signature. It could be the conducting patterns you're going to use. It could be the conducting gestures that you think you're going to need in order to help students to be successful. It may even be the formal structure of the piece. Let's say the piece is ABA, or it has a verse chorus or verse refrain kind of form to it. Those sorts of elements that the score gives to you will certainly give you, I think, a better picture of perhaps how to best approach the score. The next thing that you want to think about is when you're teaching the score, or as you're beginning to teach the score, to listen to the singers. They will tell you what they need. And what I mean by that is if the range of the music, for example, is challenging for some of your students, if some of the tonal patterns are challenging for your students, if some of the harmonies or some of the rhythms that are involved with the music are particularly difficult for your students, as you're listening to them in real time, you will probably have a very good sense as to what may be challenging them. You may even, in advance of your first rehearsal, be able to look very carefully at the score and say, oh gosh, this piece is in a minor mode, or this piece has this very interesting interval in it. And that in itself may give you a very clear picture as to how you want to begin thinking about the work that you're doing with your students. My wonderful colleague Christine Bass, who you'll meet later, certainly has some wonderful techniques and some ideas about what she would have you to consider when looking at a score and getting your students prepared for the repertoire. The goal ultimately is to simultaneously respond to both the needs of the singers and the score. It is critical that we not lose sight of both of those things simultaneously. Obviously, we want our students to be very successful, but we can't do that unless we, as educators, have a very clear sense of what sort of demands the score is going to place on us as educators, and certainly what sort of demands the scores are going to place on our students that we're working with. So, what are those essential elements? I actually believe that much of the music that we do, no matter what the style, no matter what the genre, really sort of boils down to three major sort of categories of elements. I think first and foremost, I think about the tonal elements, and those are all the elements related to pitch. That would be melody, that could be the harmony, that could be the scale patterns that are involved, the key signatures or sort of the tonal centers that are implied by maybe some of the accidentals that are in the score beyond the key signatures, the range, the tessitura, and other sort of tonal patterns that you'll find in the music. Maybe there are intervallic leaps, either up or down, that may be essential to sort of grabbing those and extracting them and helping your students to really focus in on those particular patterns so that then they can transfer the reinforcement that you give them back into the music and even apply those tools and those techniques to other elements in the music as you move through the rehearsal process. Beyond tonal elements, there are rhythmic elements. Every piece of music beyond the tonal elements have rhythmic elements, and those are simply the note values, the time signatures, and the patterns, the rhythm patterns that you encounter. So, being very much aware of the rhythmic elements in the music, again, will help you to be successful in terms of the teaching strategies you employ, but certainly be helpful in isolating them in ways that your students can navigate them and get better with them, solidify them, and then certainly apply them to other situations. And then I think, thirdly, beyond tonal elements and rhythmic elements, every single piece of music has what I call the expressive elements, and those are basically everything that you'd find in the music beyond the tonal and the rhythmic elements. That could even be the tempo marking. It would include the dynamics, all articulations, phrasing, the text, which is very important, and then a couple of things that sort of go beyond the text. The context. The context of the music actually will help you navigate the expressive elements of the text because knowing how this piece of music was created, under what circumstances, what historical time period, may influence in some ways how you express that piece of music when it is being performed. And then meaning. What is the meaning behind the piece? Is this a funeral dirge or is this a pop piece of music? Is it a Broadway show piece? Is it a lullaby? Is it a folk song? All of those things will knowing the meaning behind the music will certainly help you to interpret it and help your singers to express the piece in an appropriate way. So let's dig a little bit deeper into a couple of these expressive elements, namely the last three that I mentioned: text, context, and meaning. So, when it comes to the text, there are very specific questions that I think we as educators need to ask ourselves and help our students to explore. For example, what is the origin of the text? It is imperative that we not perform any piece of music with text in which we haven't really done our work or inspire our students and give them the tools to do the work to figure out what the origin might be of the text. Who wrote the text? What do we know about that person or persons who created the text? What languages are found in the text? Is the language figurative or poetic or metaphoric? There may even be some opportunity to integrate what you're doing or collaborate what you're doing with the English language arts department in your school. What is the relationship between the text and the music? Oftentimes, there can be some amazing discussions and critical thinking that can go on in your classroom with helping the students to understand how the music is put together based upon the music, perhaps the music's opportunity, if you will, to amplify the text in more meaningful ways. And I think that your students would have a great time answering and exploring these questions. After doing that, either as you as the teacher or in collaboration with your students, what are the implications for performance? Well, first of all, how can the singers best communicate the text? Once you have explored the origin of the text and the meaning perhaps behind the text and the relationship between the text and the music, challenge your students to think about how they can best communicate the emotions and the character and the message in the text. What is the potential impact of the text on the lives of the singers? This is an opportunity to connect with our national arts learning standards, where we often think about creating and we often think about performing, but there's also an opportunity for us to connect and to reflect and to make build some bridges between what we are singing about and our everyday lives. And then finally, what is the potential impact of the text on the audience? I think that so much of the work that we do around performance is about the student experience, which is great, but how can we sort of extrapolate that out into the audience experience? What do we want our audiences to experience? And how can we motivate our students and inspire our students to think about the work that they're doing and the impact, the potential impact it could have on their audiences and the potential impact it could have on their communities, their neighborhoods, or even their school? So when it comes to context, here are the questions for exploration. How was the piece created? Under what circumstances was the piece composed? How does the piece function within the context of history? How does the piece function within the context of culture? So these are, I think, important questions for exploration for you as the educator, but also for your students. And so there may be opportunities to do some digging in order to get a fuller understanding of the circumstances surrounding the origin and the development of the music. And what implications are there for performance? Well, you can ask these questions. What are the implications for performance practice, knowing what we know historically about this piece of music? The performance practice for a Baroque piece of music will be very different than the performance practice for an African American spiritual. And so, understanding the context under which this music was created and composed, how it functions historically, how it functions culturally, will have an incredible impact on performance practice. How will the piece function in concert programming and performance? For example, if it is a Broadway type piece and you have a variety of styles in your concert program, where will that piece be situated and why? If it is a jazz piece, if it is a piece that is more of an Irish blessing, for example, where would it most likely function in your overall program and why? Many of us as educators, choral educators, think very carefully about that opening piece and that closing piece. Well, sometimes understanding historical context may help you to decide where that piece fits best in your entire program. And final question for context is, how will the singers help the audience to understand the context of the piece? This is always a great opportunity beyond just the program notes that you may put on paper for your students, for your audiences. But in what ways can your students be perhaps more interactive with the audience so that the audience really understands the context of the piece, particularly if it's a piece that has a cultural context that is new for many of your singers? I think it is very important, if not critical, that your students can take some responsibility for announcing to the audience, we have had a great time over the last 6 weeks exploring this particular culture and the movement that we're going to be doing. We had a chance to learn from either one of the students in the choir or from a person in our community. And this is what we learned, and we're so excited to share this with you. Providing that kind of context really helps your students to take responsibility and ownership for their learning, but it also provides a wonderful gateway between the performers and the audience for some sort of exchange and engagement, so that there's an understanding as to what kind of work has been going on in your choral classroom for the past however many weeks. And then finally, when it comes to meaning, what mood or character does the music suggest? What themes or ideas are represented by the music? And is there text painting involved? These are questions that you may be able to ask your middle school students, but most likely more appropriate to ask your high school students who are a little bit more advanced, who may be able to dig a little bit deeper. Although I would not put it past your elementary and middle school singers to be able to talk about these things as well, using the appropriate level language and terminology that they understand at their particular level. What are the implications for performance? In what ways can singers effectively convey the meaning of the text when performing? And that's a great question to ask your elementary, middle school, or high school, or even collegiate level singers. So, finally, there's some implications for teaching and learning that I'd like to share with you that sort of summarizes a lot of what I've been talking about before we get to our musical selections. Number one, learn about your students and learn the score. Those things are absolutely critical. If we don't take the time to learn about our students, their background, their where their strengths are, where their challenges are, it'll be very difficult for us to plan instruction that's going to be effective and really meet them where they are. And certainly learn the score. Try to know the score as best you can, so that you can even teach it without an instrument if necessary, except for your voice. It allows you the flexibility to walk around and work with students and be more interactive with them. It allows your ears to be a little bit sharper and listen more carefully without necessarily playing on the piano. I'm not here to say not don't play piano, because I play piano, but the more you know the score and the better you know the score, the easier it will be for you to identify those areas of the score that are opportunities for growth for your students. Next bullet point, identify the opportunities for student learning, which I just mentioned, keeping in mind the essential elements of the music, namely the tonal elements, the rhythmic elements, and the expressive elements. Develop teaching strategies and conducting gestures based on those learning opportunities and elements in the music. I was trained as a conductor, but I have to tell you, there's no right way or wrong way necessarily to think about conducting gesture. I think that a lot of what we have to do has to support the vocal production, support the voice, support breath management, support breath control, and help our students to be successful. And for different teachers and for different situations, those things are very different. But as you're working on those strategies, don't be afraid to modify them based upon the feedback that you get from your students, because they will tell you and they'll show you what they need in order to be successful. And sometimes it's a matter of trial and error. Sometimes it's a matter of stealing gestures or strategies that you've learned from other people, or maybe even things that you've come up with on your own that you have come to know work for your teaching purposes. Implement those strategies and gestures in rehearsals, making modifications based on student feedback. And then simply repeat the above process. I believe that this is sort of a a cyclical process here on this slide that may be of help to you as you think about sequencing the work that you do in the classroom. So I will stop there and spend just a few moments with five pieces of music. The first one being This Little Light of Mine. This is an arrangement by yours truly. It starts out in unison and then it moves into two part with a little bit of call and response between the voices. And then it's basically a canon or a round from there. This is on the Discovery series with Hal Leonard, and it's available in two part and in three part mixed. And I think we're going to listen to a little bit of the two part. So how about we roll the tape there?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Yes, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it
Okay, great. Thank you so much. The next piece is entitled Falling Water. This is an original text by Minnesota poet Brian Newhouse. It's an SATB setting, and there's a lot of text painting at the very beginning, and you'll actually hear the voices sort of imitating the sounds of water hitting the ground. So we'll listen to a little bit of this piece, Falling Water.
Spirit of the falling rain, send it warm and strong and deeply. Oh, Spirit of the falling rain, send it warm and strong and deeply.
So that piece has a little bit of a vocal jazz kind of effect you can hear. This next piece is an arrangement of When the Spirit Says Sing. I'm going to sing When the Spirit Says Sing. This is for SSA, and it's that old spiritual. I'm going to sing when the Spirit says sing. So here we go.
I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says sing.
you. The next piece is an arrangement of The Water is Wide. It's a partner song with Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie. The two-part version has been out for quite some time, and recently I was asked to write an SAB setting of this. And so here we go with The Water is Wide combined with Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie. Thank you. And the final piece in my set is entitled Songs for the People, with a text by Philadelphia poet Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. And it's available in SSA and SATB. And we'll listen to just a little bit of the SATB setting. Here is Songs for the People. All right, thank you so much for listening to my segment. And I hope that those pieces will give you some great ideas as you kick off your new school year. I'm now going to turn it back over to Luke, I think, or to Stacy, I think.
Moving on, Christine Bass is a choral director, guest conductor, and clinician. She taught 22 years at Cherry Hill West High School, where her program she grew from 60 to over 325 students across 7 choirs. Her groups have performed nationally at ACDA and MENC conventions, and I know she's got some great material for us. So welcome to Christine.
Thank you so much for having me, Luke and Stacy and the Hal Leonard family. Just a thrill to be here with you as you start your new year. And I don't because I'm retired, but just really excited to be here and to share some very practical ideas from somebody who's been teaching almost 50 years and just has gone through and made all the mistakes and kind of decided, oh, this could be better. So here we go. We're going to jumpstart your year. I know some of you have already started, but there's still some ideas here for you. So here we go. I don't know if I can make this bigger. Yes, I can. So I can read it. There we go. So day 1 on your entry level choir, let's just pretend we're, welcoming in those freshmen or the non-auditioned group. They've never been in your choir before. They might have been in their middle school choir or whatever, but they've never been in your choir. So here they go. Begin by greeting them at the door. There's nothing better than a person-to-person greet and hand them out the information sheet that you want them to fill out by the end of the period. That's also a great way of taking attendance on that first day and not having to call a roll. But move right into musicking. Don't talk. Stand them up. Do what I do. Stretch them out. Vocal yell, and whoo, they're off. Okay. So move right into building a 3 or 4 part riff. Now this, they've come in and they've sat wherever they want. It doesn't matter. You just take this group, this group, this group, depending on the size and depending on the, hopeful, ability of the group. I like to start in D minor, small range, catchy rhythms. And then when you vary it, you can also take in and out the voices, change the tempo, change the dynamics. It gives them a good experience in watching you and sticking with their part and having a lot of fun. So as I was thinking about riff singing, I thought, oh, wait, I've got 4 grandkids that can do this. So you're going to see my grandkids do a D minor riff sing. Here we go. Hey, this is my riff group, my riff team. Judah, 17. Paris, almost 16. Simeon, 10. Tia, 12, almost 13. Okay, and we're going to riff sing. Okay, 1. We're going to be in this key. Do, 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 do. Everybody got the beat? Here we go. 2, starting bass. Dee 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 dee. They're a lot of fun. And that was just, we ran it twice and then they did it. Now, their ears are really good. We've been singing since they've been in the car seats with me, driving and stuff. But there's no, you might have to repeat it a little bit more. You might have to simplify it. But you can get them all singing and all enjoying it. And that's the idea. We came to sing. Boom, here we go. And then I think you need to set the ground rules. And how do you do that in a choral program? Well, I like to have the kids do it with me. So I simply say, so if we're going to be an amazing choir by the end of the year, what kind of things are we going to need to do in the room? What kind of rules are we going to have? And put a student on the board to write them down. We need to be on time. We don't need to have gum. We need to not talk when other people are talking. Whatever they do, if they establish the expectations, they're much more likely to keep them. And that students always learn better from one another. So I found that was very helpful. Then I pass out a calendar, and I've done this because I've learned the hard way that Joey will inevitably have his orthodontist appointment on my dress rehearsal. And I'll be like, but what didn't you know? Didn't your mom know? And so this is what I do. So the two copies per student, all contracts, a contract that parents and students sign, and then they turn back in one signed copy to you. It includes all the rehearsals that they have to be at, all the concerts for the year. And just say, one copy goes on your refrigerator, one copy comes back to me, put it in the calendar, on the family calendar, and then at back to school night, you can reiterate it, send it home again. But you need that from everybody, just so that they are all on the same page with you. And then I like to energetically talk about those events that are in the calendar. Every year we took a music trip. Every year we had special concerts and assemblies, and kind of get them jazzed as to what they're going to do. Even though they're first year kids or new to the program, get them excited about what's coming. Like our first thing that we do in the fall, which we called Men's Night Out or Super Bowl of Sound. And I stole this from a great lady in Connecticut. And I was like, you're kidding, you do this? And she said, yes. And it works like a charm. So I can attest that it does. So this is a great picture. You've got your 4th and 5th graders down on the floor, your middle schoolers in the middle there, and the high school guys, you can't even see the tops of their heads, are there all making this wonderful TB choir. But the elementary guys are singing the essay. So here's some ideas for it. It's a success for everybody. I chose 4th through 12th grade boys. The sports gear attire or school attire. And we brought in some special guests sometimes. And we also did, for the admission, we asked people to bring dried food goods, canned food goods for our food bank. And then we made a contribution to that. So it was really helping the community. So it's a fall event, end of October, beginning of November, nothing fancy. It's certainly not a musical, like highlight, but it is an energy community building highlight. So we always themed it, maybe the oldies or maybe a barbershop time or Beatles or Michael Jackson. And it was fun for everybody. It was basically trying to get the vibe of it's cool to sing. It's cool to sing. We like to do this. And I think you'll see in the video that they do, that was definitely the result. Very little rehearsal. I only did one rehearsal with the whole group. Right before the show, they had a quick dress rehearsal, and then each choir performed their own little thing. And that was, a fourth and fifth. The elementary sang, I'll do the one we're doing. It's Michael Jackson. It was the year he passed. So the elementary sang ABC. The middle school sang Thriller. These are all Hal Leonard arrangements, of course. And my high school sang, I can't even remember right now, but then, Man in the Mirror was middle school. Thriller was high school, and my a cappella men's group sang a couple of pieces as well from Michael Jackson, and it was just a whole lot of fun. Because it was Michael Jackson, we also had a sing-off. A dance-off, which all the kids, each school volunteered a couple of guys. We got some tracks going, and we had them all dance, and it was a great fun. This particular piece you're going to hear was the closer, where everybody sang together. This is the one piece that we practiced, unbelievably. And it's an SATB, We Are the World, from Hal Leonard. And the Unchanged Voices are singing the essay. The high school Cambiata soloist in the gray shirt on the right, who is now the band director at that same high school, was reinforcing their part, the high part. And each school prepared a soloist for the opening, so that everybody kind of got their own little stamp. We're going to start with the last soloist, the last two soloists, the little guy. I think he's just too cute. So here you have We Are the World, and it's really a whole lot of guys on stage.
We are all one, God's great big family, and the truth, love is all we need. We are children, we are the ones here right, so that's our gift. There's a choice we're making. We must sing it out loud. Just you and me.
Side there, gray shirt.
So they know that no one cares. We can let them suffer. No, we cannot take away. Right now, they need a helping hand. We are the world. We are the children.
Okay, there you go. Just a really special moment for those young people, the singing, being a part of everything. And just, if you're a music teacher, that gets to your heart. And I'm sure you saw that I felt like I was conducting the planes coming in there. But, you do the best you can. You have a great time, and everybody has a great time. The parents are there. The elementary school, middle school parents are there, which is a win-win. They get to see the program and say, oh, don't you want to do that when you're in high school? So these ideas and a lot more are from my DVD, which is going to be digital, I hear, which is called Recruiting, Engaging, and Maintaining Tenors and Basses, which seems to be a problem that everybody has in their choirs. So it addresses a lot of those things, but recruiting and engaging and maintaining in general, keeping your program healthy. How do you build it? Lots of different ideas for that. Okay, day 2. As soon as that bell rings, we start with stretches, and I do motorcycles, which is a low motorcycle, and a mini bike, for both of their registers. We'll do like a cannon clap or a watch me do as I do, so they focus right away. If you wait and start to talk at them or start to wait for them to get together, it'll never happen. So boom, right away, you've got a plan. And I love to do shh, because their mouth is busy and then they can't talk. And then we move into a few basic warm-ups initially in the beginning of the year that really emphasize posture and breathing. So I have another product out on Hal Leonard called Vocal Transformation. It's the first product I did, which shows a 9th grade choir from the very first rehearsal in September all the way through to June and how they grow. And I don't know about you, but when I was in college, I had great voice teachers, great choral directors, great music educators, but they didn't really teach me how to teach non-singers. We were always working with great singers. So I got out in the field and it was like, ooh, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to, they don't know how to sing. How do I teach them? So basically, this is all about that. It's 2.5 hours of vocal exercises, and you're going to see how the beginning kids sound and then how they sound later on in the year. And there's 36 exercises in there that a lot of people have told me. I've presented this all over the country. A lot of people say they just copy that little book that's there and put it in the folders and have the students use that right in their folders, which is fine with me. They also sometimes have their students learn right along with my students, because sometimes kids are self-conscious and they don't want to do the kinesthetics. And if they see somebody else doing it, then they feel better about it. So here is what they sound like untrained, and then their transformation. Here we go. I'm coaching every half step. I'm always doing it. Now, in fairness, the first group was the freshmen. The second group was the advanced choir. So it wasn't just 1 year that happened, but over the course. Now we're going to hear them in a simple exercise that I would probably do in the beginning to emphasize the space in the oral cavity, and it's called up and over. So here's my question. If you're going to sing and you're going to have that soft palate lifted, are you going to sing or are you going to sing Which one's going to sound better? The second one that goes over the ceiling. Everybody do it wrong.
Working
first
on the three-pronged sensory connection, the students need to understand it through the logical explanation, the body muscle sensation, and also the auditory. So hearing the difference in their sound placement is crucial.
Dome or cathedral. Ready, and...
It is exciting to watch their progress as my beginners soon start to sound more on track with my advanced students. There is a remarkable change in their voices in just 3.5 months. Notice I have moved the tenors and basses behind the second sopranos now.
The top group that you heard at the end, but even the beginners had a huge change just from doing some great vocal technique, which you do all the time. Okay, so moving right into, this is still day 2. We've done a couple exercises like that with some coaching. Moving right into another riff sing, probably with some different challenges, more ins and outs and things like that. And then I would teach them the Dulaman by Christy Carey Miller, who just presented this on Tuesday. In the 3-part mix, but I would not pass out the music. I would teach it all by ear because we've been doing the riff singing. So we would go to page 9. I would actually start with part 3, teach the whole room part 3, and then add part 2, get a section to sing to part 2, and then add part 1. It's by ear. And then later on, when we actually open up the score, they go, oh, wait a minute, we already know this part. So here it is, Christy Carey Miller's Dulaman.
Dulaman, oh Dulaman, 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 oh Dulaman, 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 Dulaman,
So you see in the octavo, she presents it the opposite way. She presents it with the top down, but there's no nothing wrong with learning it the other way, just to really solidify that lower part first. But teaching it by ear, and that's a great one because Doulemon, that's all they are. You don't have to use a lot of words. You just have that almost easy syllables there to go. So I loved that piece. I loved what she did with it. All right, some ideas for developing some SSA repertoire. Great vocal habits are always at the base of what you teach. Always need to be there. You need to be the voice teacher of these students. And so that happens largely in warm-ups. So right now we're going to hear the piece that we're going to is Safe and Sound from Hunger Games. We're going to listen first, and then I'll tell you.
I remember tears streaming down your face when I said I'll never let you go. But all those shadows almost killed your light. I remember you said, don't leave me here alone. But all that's dead and gone and past tonight. Just close your eyes. The sun is going down. You'll be alright. No one can hurt you now.
So that's a beautiful song, lots of beautiful lines to do. Prior to teaching it, okay, I would use the warm-ups, these couple of warm-ups to build in some great vocal technique before they even open the piece. So they've experienced how to sing this prior to opening up the music. So the first warm-up I would use is using that minor I wouldn't use any words. I'd just go for the line and then I transpose it up. I messed up the third. It's good ear training. And then so you want them to be able to, instead of da, 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 that's not what you're going for. So you don't want to teach that in. Okay. And another problem with a piece like this that happens in a lot of pieces is a descending scale. How many times do they sing flat on a descending scale? So warm up number 2, I would extrapolate from page 2, measure 5 and 6, the descending minor triad, the scale on Lu, and we would develop the tuning, the descending line, especially those intervals coming down, connecting the notes and the breath control. So then we'd open and breathe. This would be an onset thing. And not and especially not using the words. So if you want them to sing up with a beautiful line at the end, you've got to teach a beautiful line in the beginning. And that, my friends, is front loading. And that's the title of my book, which has a whole bunch of examples. It has over 60 examples of me working with the choir on the first rehearsal. And Rollo was talking about score prep and combinations of things that you need to put in those elements. Those are all in there. And whatever you want the end to sound like, you have got to start that way. So this is like 60 clips of high school choirs, learning pieces from the Hallelujah chorus to, a lot of beautiful octavos and classical pieces to some more contemporary pieces. And how do you actually approach that? Now, I've always wanted to be a fly on the wall of people's rehearsals, and this is that kind of thing. You can be a fly on the wall. Does it work perfectly all the time? No, but I'm a very pragmatic person, and I like to show the process. And when you stumble, when, as Rollo said, the students show you what they need to work on, you've got to come up with ways to get that rolling. So that's the book. I'd encourage you as a rehearsal technique to use that. And front loading, taking some warm-ups, building it right into the opening of how you learn it. Okay, there's a lot more to that, but we don't have time. All right. Remember that calendar you passed out in the beginning of the year, that first or second day? Well, now we're going to kind of whet their appetites for something that's coming soon. You always want to make your program exciting. It was interesting when I heard Christy 2 days ago. She talked about generating community and having an activity once a month for her students. We love to do that. I have tons of ideas in that recruiting video that really show you how to bring those kids together, bond them, build community. So I'm trying to get them psyched. We have a winter concert. Okay, it does take a long time to get your winter concert together because they're all new at things. And then a spring concert. But boy, there's a lot of time in between. So I like to have a concert in the middle. And we had what was called Broadway night, or you could call it a Pops calendar, a Pops night. And we would usually have it late February, mid-February into March, just before the musical, but not during it. And we would usually have a theme. It's a great recruitment tool. And you can see that there are 7 rows up of young tenors and basses in that choir up there. And that's not even all of them. So you want to make sure that you get kids involved. A lot of the guys came in because I said, hey, I need some lifters for my ballet people. And they were like, you need some lifters? And I'm like, yeah, I do, and they would come from the weight room. I can lift a ballerina. Okay, cool. You're hired. But that means you got to be in choir. So it's kind of a sneaky way to do it. But you know what? It worked. And you know what they said? Gosh, I wish I'd done this since my freshman year. So some of them were recruited when they were juniors and seniors. But this particular concert gets everybody involved. You invite the middle school to perform. And I had them come on right after the intermission so that they could, be all lined up and ready to go. They performed their own piece. And then they sang the closer with us. Again, their parents are there. They're all wearing these shirts. My officers got to choose the color and of the shirts every year. And those shirts are all over the community. Cherry Hill High School West, boom, 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 Broadway night. Well, that's a pretty good recruitment tool. And it also, in the middle of the year, gives way more opportunity for solos, small group opportunities, small ensembles, dance teams. The kids in my community danced ever since they could walk. So that was a big thing. Some kids like to do skits, and I did the choreography. And then they sold some ads in the program for their music trip fundraising. So it was just a win-win-win all the way around, and we had a lot of fun. Of course, all the music was Hal Leonard because they have a great catalog of musical theater. So here is my own kids, my high school kids, doing Hairspray. You Can't Stop the Beat. And these are my singers having a great time with it. The dance team that you'll see in the front, they made up that. I made up the choreography. If you look close, you'll see me doing everything backwards in front of them. And we just had a whole bunch of fun. So here we go. I think I have to do this and then this. You can't stop the beat, but we can start the video. You can't stop the beat. Nothing but fun, just so much fun. I do take credit for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thing. That wasn't in the score, but you put it in. There's lots of things you can put in. Your kids can come up with things to put in. But the whole idea is they have a great time. Now, that was all my choirs combined. Each one of them sings separately, but not in that night. But they do in their other 2 concerts. Okay, where do we go after that? Well, let's look at some newer music that Hal Leonard has out, the Trolls World Tour. And Brittany's going to Just Sing. Roll this for us. I would have that as a big banner across my room when they walked in the spring, in the fall. Just Sing. Makes sense? So here we go. Listen to some of this.
Just sing, sing it together, louder than ever, ever. Forget everything, just sing like it's what we've been missing. And they're gonna listen, listen, forget everything. You think you've gotta hide it? Don't keep it on the shelf. Let your waist start moving, watch the way I do it. See me do it like nobody else. That big sing.
I'm going to skip in the interest of time as we run out of time, but I would do a little exercise for this one too. This is in my vocal transformation. I would teach them Z ping, which goes Z ping, 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 and use handbells. Change that ping to a da. Z da, da, da. And then when we get to this, I'm going to have them da that. So just the lower voices, 1, 2, da, da, and wrap it around, add the altos, 2, 3, da, da, 3, 4. Now all together, they'll just sing chords, da, da. And then when you get to the next part, you know, you can loop that again, but making sure that chord, just sing, is sparkly right away. That's more front loading ideas, but that's another approach to how you get that. So, that's what I was supposed to have there. Great. So, and you could, as an exercise, start it a little bit lower because it's already pretty high, especially if you want to go up by half steps. But let that happen. And again, they don't need the music. You're just doing a warm up. And then later on, they open the music. They probably would recognize it anyway. But you're like, maybe that sounds like something I know. But get the right articulations for it. Front load it. Okay. And more programming, building ideas real quick. It doesn't matter how big your program is, how small your program is, you want to assess the talents. So maybe you've got some kids that really have great ears and decent voices, and they could handle a jazz, piece. And so they're willing to come after school or before school a couple times a week. That's going to build it into later on having a curricular or extracurricular jazz group. I found this great arrangement of Can't Help Falling in Love by Kirby Shaw. So we'll give you a little taste of that, something that you could use for that.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
We're going to have to cut out because of time. That I used a lot with my men's ensemble so that they serenaded the ladies, and it was cool to be a guy and sing and all that whole thing. So a TV ensemble is a possibility, an essay ensemble is a possibility, and then a select ensemble. You always want to skim off the top there, give those kids some real challenges. Now, I've spent most of this time, almost all of this time, doing the lighter musical theater, more popular stuff. But that's not to say that's what you do in your program. You have to have a balanced meal. And in fact, my advanced group would much rather sing the Brahms and the Mozart and that stuff because they work their way up to that possibility. Here's a beautiful piece by Rob Dietz that it's a double DVC that is just gorgeous that's out there on Hal Leonard. I Shall Not Live in Vain. that. But so much you can teach from that. Line, energy, diction, phrasing, all of that great stuff. So please think of me as a resource. I am retired, so you can email me and ask away any questions, any thoughts. And here's my contact information. Please seek me out. I would love to, if you're close by, I would love to come and work with your ensembles. I also actually go out, and do a lot of honors things too. So just have an awesome year. I wish you the very, very best in this non-pandemic thing and just have a great year with your students. Thanks so much.
There's a question. This is an interesting question. Was dropped. Christine, during your video that you showed of the You Can't Stop the Beat, what was used as the images behind your singers?
Oh, I happen to have a great friend who is a lighting guru, and I just cut him loose and said, go ahead and do your projection. So each year it got better and better as he said, "Oh, you're kidding me." And so, he was very
I mean, it looked like one of those iTunes visualizers or something
Right,
they used to have on. So, that's really cool.
A quick question I see here. Any ideas for holiday small ensemble? I'll open that up to the room.
I had a chamber ensemble, 24 voices, 12 and 12, and they did all kinds of holiday rep. And Hal Leonard has tons of it. I kept it all a cappella. We also did carols that, are public domain. But Hal Leonard, I'm sure Luke, you can show us where. But we used to love all of the, and a lot of fun stuff, Rudolph, all kinds of different things, because you'd sing for office parties and banquets and things like that. So,
Yep. And in fact, we'll put together like a little Hal choir here of things we do, small ensemble like that. And in the spectrum, there is a page for winter and holiday. I don't know, it's kind of out of focus right now, but everything new that came out this year is on here. There's some really great takes, like gospel takes on First Noel. There's some great new voicings of like In the Bleakwood Minter, all those things. And then there's, classic ones like Christmas Song, Because It's Christmas, a couple pentatonics. So we got a wide range of voicings and styles. So check it out.
Email me and I can give you our rep list that we had. We had a musical menu that we handed to the people and they chose and stuff. So.
And I'll give you all a little sneak peek. This coming year, we are going to be putting out a brand new collection of Kirby Shaw a cappella Christmas for SATB and also an SAB edition. This is a follow-up to his very successful an a cappella Christmas arranged by Kirby Shaw. So the original one has been out for quite some time, and we thought it was time to do another one. So that will be coming out in the coming months. So,
yep, absolutely. These resources, from Christine, which are scheduled for digitization. Thank you for mentioning that, Christine. And Rollo's Choir Builders set of resources. It's like, if you guys get goosebumps watching their presentations and their videos, we do too. And it's like, the reason they're here is because they're passing on this incredible knowledge and expertise that makes us so excited, and it wants us to make you feel excited about your year. And that in turn gets the students excited. And seeing those kids on stage in those videos it's absolutely goosebumps inducing. And it's something we just strive to do. So please contact both of them and all of us at any time. We're here to help. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think with that, we'll bid you all a good evening, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you're watching us from. I saw someone said that it's past midnight where they are, so thanks for staying up with us. Anyhow, thank you so much. Thank you to Rollo and to Christine and Luke and Melissa and Brittany behind the scenes. Best wishes for a fantastic new year. We can't do what we do without you, so thank you so much for your support. And with that, I will sign us off. Goodbye, everybody.
Have a great year, everyone.